Top of the day, beautiful people. We're here at Real Talk with Giuseppe. I have amazing guests today. Can't wait to get started. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Athena Luciano, founder of Immigration Solutions San Diego. It's a family-based immigration service serving the United States across the country.
Beautiful. How about you?
Awesome. Pleasure. My name is Sean Skills. I'm the owner and founder of Horizon Credit, located in downtown San Diego. Right now, we're ranked as #1 top performing credit and debt counseling company. So
it seems like I'm not only the guest here, but I'm the host. I'm sorry, but I'm here. You know, this is exactly what happened to me. I mean, I came from Italy as an immigrant. I became American citizen. I have to establish good credit. So this is a perfect situation. I got to share my story as well while we talk, and all the crap I went through. Because I talk colorful. Did you know that? You guys knew that?
We're about to find out.
Yeah, totally fine.
They didn't know that. They came here all prepared. They're like, oh, this is going to be like this question, that question. They're not aware that I'm not going to ask any of the questions. They've been prepared on. So you guys stay tuned. Watch this. It's going to be fun. They have a ton of great content. I already picked a couple of the golden nuggets, that's how I call it, from her and from him. So let's get it in.
Awesome.
I see here, I have a nice, cute little brochure. Okay, so let's start with this seriously. I know about the immigration thing. Okay, I became an American citizen. I gotta tell you, that's not easy at all.
Well, it's certainly not easy in these days. So if you went through that experience a couple of years ago.
It just happened.
Okay.
I just became an American citizen.
So yes, you received the crude new way of becoming a U.S. citizen.
I know. What changed? I mean, why do you think it changed from from a few years ago?
So really, it's I think the force of the administration bringing down to the local levels and making it just a stricter, more stringent application process. Okay. So to be very clear, the 100 questions that USCIS adjudicators, that is the officer that does the test for you, the questions have always been the same. The only things that change is local government, if you will, right?
Okay.
However, they generally welcome the application process of United States citizenship and ask the general questions: is who's your governor, who's the president of the United States, what kind of colors are on the flag, that kind of thing. Right. Today and age, I recently had a client about a month ago who said one of the questions asked was, name one war from the 1800s.
They asked me that too,
actually. Truth and point, right? So it has become much, much more strict, and I believe that it has a lot to do with the pressure they feel from the administration, making it a rigid, ensuring you qualify, earning your way, if you will, and it has really affected lots of applicants.
I definitely earned my way. I tell you that much. I was so nervous. I mean, I've done so many tests. I'm in the real estate business. I passed the test and whatnot. I've been in this country for 9 years. So I'm telling you, I was freaking out. 100 questions. I was like, what? I have no idea. So I had to study. I was on vacation and I downloaded an app and I started studying over and over. My kids were asking me questions. So,
so food for thought on that for those people who are listening and watching. When you take the citizenship test, they will ask one question from every area.
Yes.
So they'll ask a question from the civics test, another one from your American history, that and on and on. So be prepared that of the 100 questions, you're going to be asked one of each section only.
So I wanted to ask you this, and just come into my mind, of course.
I'm in trouble.
I see a little bit of a controversy here, okay? So they ask you about civic questions and history and whatnot, but they don't really focus on the language. So to make sure that you understand everything, that you know how to speak, you know how to write. What do you think about that? What's your take?
So part of the exam does consist of writing perhaps 1 or 2 sentences,
but
if
it's
you will,
1 or 2,
and it is reading 1 or 2 sentences aloud. So ultimately, they embrace the immigrant, right? Whatever your background is, whatever your native language is, you are true to who you are through that.
Right.
And so the idea, as a former immigration official, I speak, this is just a personal opinion, I think that they embrace that, as well as assuming that for you to progress, you will make that effort to learn the language which is the English language, while just combining it, if you will, with your own culture and your own native language. So it's not so much show me that you know. How many of us would pass really an English test, a civics test, if it was thrown at this table right now?
Right.
Oh,
It'd be a very
I
embarrassing.
remember half of the things I
Correct. And so
studied.
with that in mind, I don't believe that it was ever meant to enforce your obligation or an obligation of knowing the language as much as you know your own. We understand, again, as a former immigration official, I say I understood the concept of embracing and holding true to who you are and immigrating into a country
into a
that's
new
going to
country.
bring, yes.
We're lucky here because, I mean, we're so close to the border, so everything is pretty much Spanish and English. But I'm thinking about Minnesota or Virginia.
Sure.
If you know, if their English is not, I wouldn't say excellent, but really good English spoken and writing, they might be a little in trouble. And I feel bad as an immigrant. That's what I'm
And
coming
you
from.
asked me a question outside of the air with reference to is there an obligation to have a certain character or adopt a certain character when you are an officer representing Customs and Border Protection or any other level? And naturally, the answer is no. There is certain ethics and morals, character that is tested before you become an officer. However, it really is how you want to address this.
Right.
I'm the child of immigrant parents. My grandfather came here through World War II in his honorable service to the United States Army, and so this is how my family became immigrants. Does that mean that I'm going to forget those humble roots of working in the fields, or me as a 3-year-old playing in those fields? Absolutely not. I represented Department of Homeland Security overseas in South America, brought back a Medal of Honor, and I'm still simple. I'd like to think I am.
You should teach a class to them. So, just to recap what she said, she was in a border patrol and
Sure.
right? Okay. So she was an officer. And I don't know if you guys ever crossed the border, but majority of them, they come from another, from a background. It could be
Yes.
Filipinos, Latinos and whatnot. And they're rude. Damn it. Sometimes they're so rude. It's like, why did you go to Mexico? Oh, I just went to some food. What did you bring in? Why? I'm like, just so direct and rude. And I'm like,
So I always have to say, and it's kind of a defense, but I always have to say, think of the officers as human beings as well. They are also going through, problems at home, lots of hours. Oftentimes when I was there, overtime was mandatory, additional 8 hours. So we were required to work 16-hour shifts.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't until a CBP officer who was forced to work double shifts had a motorcycle accident and died. And so until then, they obligated us to work 16-hour shifts. So you never know what is happening behind the badge and the uniform.
Right.
With that being said, they're also on high alert with terrorism, right? San Ysidro was one of the major borders of coming in through prior to reaching the 9/11. So with that in mind, I will say two things on a lighter level. Get Sentry. I opened Sentry in 2004 in San Ysidro with the pedestrian Sentry. That was the team that I led, and that actually is what catapulted me to Washington, D.C. And so that is a dedicated commuter lane that allows people that enter the United States quite often, whether you live in the U.S. or you're visiting, and you've been vetted, right? So the questions won't be as harsh. And the other thing is just
Kind
make
of
sure
like TSA pre-check. Pretty much.
Yes, exactly right.
I
So
have one,
They
so
know
I
who
know
you
how to-
are. They
yeah.
know where you live. They know where you
Go
work.
straight up front. Right
Yes,
up to the
and
line,
it's
pretty
usually a
much.
wave by,
Yes.
right? Because you're considered to be low risk,
Right.
a low risk traveler. And the other thing is, a lot of the times they're trying really hard to. I'm just going to say it. So look for their little bar on their shoulder. If they don't have any bars, a silver bar or gold bar, that means they're 2 years in. And so usually they're a little inexperienced or really gung-ho. They're trying to make a difference.
The golden
And
nugget.
so
Here it is.
Right.
Here it is.
I always say to my employees, my colleagues, my clients, if they have a silver bar, they've been there 3 years. If they have a golden bar, they've been there more than 3 years. And so they're a lot more seasoned, experienced, especially San Ysidro border. It's the number one. It's the largest land border in the United States. They see everything. So
Makes That makes sense a lot.
I had a question though about that. In regards to the passport ordeal, so individuals traveling to Mexico and traveling back, those who don't have passports, typically what do they experience? Is that truly a requirement as of right now?
So definitely longer lines, to be very clear. I don't remember the year, and I was no longer with Homeland when it happened, but there did come a time where you were required to have your U.S. passport if you're traveling by air, definitely by air and by sea. Land border seems to be a little more relaxed simply because of the amount of commuters coming in, and they're certainly not going to affect commerce by stopping a U.S. citizen because they don't have a passport. That's been my experience. I've had some clients come back and tell me that they can still enter the United States through our local land borders using their U.S. birth certificate and a valid, not expired identification from the government. So not a Costco card, but maybe a California ID or something like that, right?
Some flair. Love it. So that's some great stuff. I appreciate you.
Sure.
So this is like something that unfortunately happened to me too. Identity theft.
Okay.
It's happening every day. I mean, I've read some.
It's the largest crime in America.
Right, horrifying story. But how do I get a hold of my social, these people? How do they do that?
How do people obtain copies of your social or your information?
Right.
A lot of times it could just be, a lot of cases of identity theft could be just misplacement of information, whether you may lose a wallet. Some people, which we don't recommend, carry their social security cards in their wallet. You end up losing your wallet at the beach or something. Now someone has access to your driver's license. They know your address now. They have your social security number. They have anything and everything that they may need. So that's one option, assuming you lost something. Other options is that other individuals, just through technology, they will just monitor websites, things that you may enter or you're applying for credit. They pose as real websites. Hackers may create a website and you think that you're applying for a credit card with Capital One or Chase or whatnot. You enter out all your information, you enter social security number, and they're capturing it the entire time.
So how can you spot that?
So the best way to do it is always make sure whatever website you're on that you're entering personal information on, very information that's pertinent to you, is that it has a lock in the web URL.
So on the URL, I know there is a lock on the top right hand.
That's for SSL encryption. SSL encryption means that that website has been approved by whichever hosting site it is, whether it's GoDaddy, Google, whoever. If it has a lock on it, you can even click the lock. Because as technology advances, they can even mask and maybe create fake locks and stuff like that. If you click the lock, it will actually pull up a drop down and it will tell you how valid this certificate is. So it will tell you that, hey, this website has been generated back in 2014. This SSL certificate has been created with GoDaddy, and it is valid till 2019.
Golden nugget.
Yeah, so like that type of things. So that's what you always want to make sure. If you're going to enter any type of information, if you're going to apply for any financial product where you know you're going to enter Social Security, anything like that, make sure it's SSL encrypted because it definitely will protect you. That means that whoever this server is, this information is being stored, it's not being on a hacker website. Because again, you can go to a site that looks exactly like PayPal. I mean, they create websites all the time. People generate. So they can make a website that looks just like PayPal, and you're not paying attention to it's www.paypal.com, but you're looking, it may be whatever reason, .us, it's not PayPal. It does not have a lock on it. You think that you're about to apply for a PayPal credit card, and before you know it, you have a credit card, you get an alert on your credit that, hey, someone's applying for credit.
I wonder if there's additional exposure when you apply through these cards using your cell phone versus a home computer.
Yeah.
Typically, so if you're applying for a credit card, like through Navy Fed or Capital One, like, because they have apps. So if you're using your iPhone and you're applying for so if that app is generated, if you're applying for a credit card through Navy Fed on their app, I'm more than positive it's absolutely secure. Navy Fed, like, so it's like things like that, definitely. And then again, if you're not using the app and you're just using a browser on your phone, it could be hacked just like on a computer. So you would definitely want to check.
So do you think you have the same protection on your mobile version of the website?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. And another way is if you're not paying attention, a way that you could tell if something is SSL encrypted, the URL turns green. So it's another thing. So if you're applying for something, if you're looking at it and you're on PayPal or you're applying for a credit card, the URL will be green. So it's not, it turns green. It's not your typical gray color. It turns green to let you know that it is secure.
Some awesome stuff. Yeah. So getting into the credit repair and the identity theft. So it just happened to me. I realized 2 weeks ago, somebody opened 5 accounts under my social with Verizon, and they decided to keep one phone. And I was about to do the upgrade, and the lady on the phone was like, well, you got to pay off the phone first. I'm like, which one? You're on the lines.
Yeah.
Lines? What lines? It's like, well, you have another phone, this $900 and something dollars. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't disclose information, which we're going to get there because I don't understand. It pissed me off completely.
Right.
How can you not want to disclose information who the name was?
Right.
You know, my social.
Uh-huh.
So they used my social. It was a different name. And I'm like, who's this person? I can't disclose it.
Right.
What kind of BS is that you can't disclose? My
Right,
social.
it's my account. Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I had to go through the police. So I called the police. I had to make a report and I sent it back to Verizon. So what can you do to protect us?
Yeah, so in regards to that, in regards to your case, definitely, I mean, I understand Verizon's standpoint because you're now requesting about an account and they're under the impression that you already opened an account and now you're asking, no, I didn't do that. I want to know who did it, blah, blah, because you're trying to be detective and figure it out yourself. But for Verizon's protection, hey, we're just not going to disclose it just because since something's been opened fraudulently, I have to take the protective measures to assume you may not be the person who's doing it as well. Okay. So for the protection of you, which I don't agree with because I experience it as well with like my banking, like it's my account, I'll verify it, but if they can't see you, that's just how they're assuming it. But so if you are a victim of identity theft, what you did is the first thing to do is if you're a victim of identity theft, go file a police affidavit right away. Just go to the police department, your local one. Some do it for free, some is $25, $35, whichever it may be. But you want to get this affidavit and include anything that you are aware of and anything that you might be expecting, so that way it's all in this affidavit to protect you later on. Now that you have it, then yeah, you go back to whoever the creditor is, say, hey, this account is open fraudulently, I have this identity theft affidavit. Now, I don't want people to think that just because you go get a police affidavit that you can just go put on here just saying, hey, this wasn't in my account, this wasn't this, that, and other, and it frees you of this debt. Absolutely not, because an investigation will eventually be created. And the last thing you want to do is falsify a police affidavit because it leads to different aspects. But to be protective of it, the biggest thing is, I mean, it comes down to making sure that you are making sure you take protective measures and always keeping your identification information in secure spots. So for me and my family, like my wife, we have a keepsake. So like our social security, birth certificate and stuff like that, those are things that we don't carry regularly when we're traveling and stuff. So we keep it, in a keepsake. So it's like we always know it's there. We can't lose it. No one should be able to have access to it other than us. So it's like those are things that we do. So I always just advise people that if you feel you might be a victim of identity theft, it's hard to notate where it may be coming from. A lot of people will go to the drastic measures of filing for a completely new Social Security number. Now, to do this is multiple steps with the Social Security Administration. I mean, you got to go through affidavits, and I mean, it's a lot of work because the SSA, they're not going to just be giving out Social Security cards to anyone who just says, hey, I feel I might be a victim of identity theft today. So you have to have a lot of reasons and explanations as to why you're reapplying for a new card. But other than that, I mean, it's not much protection that you have. A lot of people feel that they are victims of identity theft, just like it's taken away essentially your personal protection as just that someone knows everything about me now and someone could apply for anything under the sun and I'm legally responsible for it.
It's a violation.
Yeah.
It feels bad. I'm telling you, it felt terrible.
Yeah.
Part of the fact that, I mean, I didn't know this until I moved here, but you do need a good credit in order to move ahead, to have a credit card, to get a mortgage, to pretty much to do anything, get a car.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, in my country is not something that's really important. You know, they give you a loan if you put 50% down and whatnot. Over here, everything seems like it's built on credit, right? Right. So when something like this happened, actually screwed me up big time because my FICO score dropped a lot because they opened different credit lines and different things happened on my credit. So I started disputing and this and that, and I had to hire somebody. So is that what you specialize in? How do you walk people through?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a credit repair company, credit restoration. The primary goal is to challenge derogatory information placed on credit reports is what we're really doing. And so we use the word challenge versus disputing because when you're disputing, it's just that, hey, you're claiming one thing and I'm negating it right away. So I'm disputing. I'm going to argument with you. Versus a challenge is, okay, you're proclaiming that my account went negative or I had a 30-day late. Well, I'm challenging based on compliancy reasons why it shouldn't have been late or whatever. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're nitpicking, going through with a red pen to circle everything that is damaging this credit profile. Now, when it comes to the restoration process, our typical client will just come through and say, hey, I've had some trouble in the past, but I'm looking to move forward in my life. I need to reestablish myself. So one thing that I emphasize to clients, because when it comes to credit, yes, in America, credit is key. Cash can only take you so far. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to use credit. I get it. It's not required. But trust me, if you want to buy a house, unless you have $400,000 in cash, it's not happening. You need credit. And so, so I try to emphasize that a lot to my clients, like, hey, how important credit is to have. But the biggest thing is a lot of my clients, majority of my clients are individuals who had troubled credit in the past. Sometimes I'll get clients they have very good credit, but there's a blemish or two, whether it's a late payment that they may have forgotten or a medical collection bill that popped up that, hey, I had insurance and so my credit, it deemed me 75 points. I need help. So like those are cases, maybe 1 out of every 5 I would get. But majority, 4 out of 5, 80% of my clients are, hey, I was young, I didn't know any better, it wasn't taught in school, my parents didn't know any better, and now I'm suffering consequences for it. But I have goals. I want to buy a home, or I need to make sure my kids can do this. So now they realize that, hey, I can't apply for anything in the sun as long as my credit is what it is. So what we do is we focus on the negative first. And I try to, my biggest thing, and I had this 50-minute call with my client yesterday, because I place an emphasis on report over score. A lot of people, when they hear the word credit, the first thing that comes to mind is, what is your score? Someone says, hey, like, oh, I want to check my credit. And it's just like, that's all because all we know is it's a numerical value. So what does the score represent? So the score is just purely a representation of what your based on your past, what your future will look like. Is how it's saying. It's just a judgment of, hey, this person has a 680 credit score. The reason being, even though they pay their bills on time now, things are going well, but they had a couple screw-ups back in the day. While someone who has a 750 credit score, I don't need to look at your report necessarily, because your score right away tells me that you do everything you're supposed to do. So, but what I try to tell clients is, because the number one request or the number one reason someone comes to see me is, I want to improve my score. Great goal to have, I get it, we all do. But it takes steps. It is not just, hey, get rid of my bad and I wake up from a 580 to a 725 in 30 days. It doesn't happen like that. Good credit scores come from having good credit, period, point blank. So as I say to my clients, is that we push the issue of report over score. Because as long as your report is clean and is blemish-free, your score will eventually match to that. But I don't care about, if I could get, because I can give you a 725 credit score. Let's say I wave the magic wand and you have collections all over your profile, you have charge-off accounts, you have a bankruptcy that you filed 6 years ago, but I gave you a 730 credit score. And you decide, hey, I got a 730, I could go buy a home, I could go buy a Bentley if I chose to. And then you go and apply, and you are denied immediately.
Right, I assume that lender is going to look at every...
the report.
Yes.
Exactly.
So a question for you in that sense, with my field of work, I have immigrants who use an ITIN. And so an ITIN is a temporary number assigned by the IRS in lieu of a Social Security number. And oftentimes, my clients obtain loans, home loans, on those ITINs. Does that go on the credit report?
Not necessarily. So it's similar to like what a CPN is. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what a CPN is. CPNs are certified protection numbers. They're numbers that are similar in digits, 9 digits as a social. And so people will use these in replace of their social. Not supposed to, but there are some companies that will allow it. And in regards to an ITIN, because I do have clients that are in Mexico, and they are, because they want to, they have businesses in California, and like, hey, we need business loans and stuff like that, but our current social is for whatever reason.
So the ITIN will not reflect on your credit report.
When you're applying, so when you're supposed to apply for credit, they're supposed to base it off a Social Security number that's been government administrated.
Right.
And so that's usually what it will refer back to. I've never seen an ITIN number, or less, I don't know if it looks a little different in digits.
No, they're the same number.
Yeah, the same
digits,
okay. Yep. Yeah, so I'm not too sure, but to my knowledge, whatever's on a credit report is specifically from.
All right, beautiful people of Facebook and YouTube and everyone else around the world. We're talking about some hot topics. Sorry about what happened. Unfortunately, the broadcasting stopped. We're going to keep on going here. This is a hot topic. There's so many people watching, commenting. And please make sure you leave a comment. If you have any questions, just feel free to write it up. And over there, we'll be answering shortly. I want to continue and piggyback on what we were saying. So people make mistakes, especially young adults, right, with their credit. They don't pay off their credit cards, or there's a bill unpaid, or they're late, or whatnot. And then they become a little more mature, a little more responsible. They want to purchase a home, like you were saying. It's hard to get a loan. It's not easy to get a home mortgage.
Exactly.
Nowadays, they just check on everything. You mentioned something about FICO score versus your
report.
report. So they care more about the report than the FICO score. You could have 800 FICO, but you have no credit, nothing on your report. So that's not going to be easy to get a home mortgage, right?
Exactly.
So
so the reason why I say that and why I emphasize to my clients report over score. This is what I want to instill in their head, beat it until it's a drum. So it's just like, the reason being, when I run your credit, yes, I will see your score. The first thing that pops up is your score. The score is just there as a gatekeeper to let me know to fill you out, if you're even qualified. Because say, to get approved for a credit card, minimum score is a 680 for most major credit cards. So you need a 680. So if you apply for a credit card and you don't have that 680, you're automatically DQ'd. But what I try to tell clients is that you necessarily are not DQ'd or denied based on your score. When you apply for credit and you get denied, they'll say, hey, we'll send you a response in 7 to 14 days in the mail based on our decision. You get this letter in the mail. And as I was saying to my client yesterday, it says, hi, Jane. Hey, we want to say we regret that we can't approve you at this time. The reason being, and this is where they tell you why you were denied. This is where they focus on your report. You get denied because, hey, too many late payments that happened recently. You have too many collection accounts, too many inquiries, too many balances that are way too high. That's why we denied you. And then at the very bottom it says, based on your Experian credit report, your score was 615. So that's why I tell clients, because clients say, hey, I didn't get approved, like my score, but like I didn't get approved with this credit card, like I need to get my score higher. No, you need to clean your report first. Once the report is clean, now, because if I'm a lender and you're applying for my line of credit, yes, I'm going to see your score, but what I want to know is your report and your history is going to tell me how you are as an individual. Are you going to pay me back? Because if you have a credit score, so as I was giving an example earlier, if you have I had a client, she had a 730 credit score. And she came to me and she said, hey, my credit score is a 730, but I'm denied for everything. No matter what I apply for, I get denied. And so she's like, and I don't know why. So I said, okay, let's look at your credit. Pulled her credit. She had 15 medical collections. So she just played with medical collections all over her credit report. And so
the medical collection doesn't impact your FICO that much?
Yeah, well, definitely. Collections in general. The big thing, though, with medical collections that has recently passed is when you pay a medical collection off, it is supposed to be removed from your credit report. Okay. That is what happened. A lot of people think, oh, medical collection shouldn't be there. But it's like, no, if you now have a medical collection, if you pay it off, by law, it's supposed to come off your credit report. This is the only collection that does that, though, because the big myth and misconception that a lot of people have is that I paid off collections that I've had, and they're still on my credit report. And as I tell people, just because you pay it does not mean that it's not supposed to be there. Because to a creditor, did you go bad? Did you not pay that bill? Yes, that is the history. That's the path of that account. It went to a collection status. I don't care that you paid it today. Well, what happened when you didn't pay it 3 years ago? It's a collection now. You just decided to pay it today. So that's all that happened. So it's like, but medical collections are supposed to be removed from the credit. But as I was saying, to a lender, someone who has a good credit score, yes. If I run your credit, I see a 730 credit score, I'm licking my lips. Like, I can't wait to give you credit.
You're licking my lips.
Right. Like, I want to give you money. Like, because you're going to pay me back. Your score says you're going to pay me back. But I'm going to look at your report because I want to see how are you paying other people. Like if you have a 730, you must be paying this person great. You paying them on time. I want to see how you're doing that. Are you managing your balances well? So now I look at your report and all I see is collections all over the place. So it's like maybe something is glitching with your FICO score and your score is not where you're supposed to be because from what I can see on your report, you're not about to pay me back on time. And that's where I will DQ you versus someone who has a 620 credit score, just starting to reestablish themselves, but they don't have any negative credit. They just got one auto loan. That's all they have, or they maybe have one student loan. And this is why I tell clients, if I'm a lender and you and your neighbor both come to me, if I own an auto dealership and you come to buy a car and your credit score is a 695, but you have a charge off, you have a collection and stuff like that, and your neighbor comes to buy a car from me today and their credit score is a 615, but you know what? When I look at their report, they don't have anything negative. I am going to sell that car to them. I'm going to sell that home to them because even though they don't have history, I will be the one to hopefully start establishing some history for them. Hopefully they pay me back. Because even though your score is higher, your history tells me you're not going to pay me back, or at least not on time, or you're going to get overwhelmed with debt. And so it's like, I don't want to touch you.
Don't want to do that.
And so that's why I emphasize the clients, like, don't come into this with the mindset of, I just want a good score.
Right.
Because the minute someone says that to me, like, when I get on the phone, first thing I ask is, hey, what's going on with your situation and what is your goal? And so they'll tell me what's going on so I can get a feel of what has happened in the past. And then they'll tell me their goal. I either want to buy a home or I want to increase my score.
Usually that's what they want to do, right?
That's all it really is.
They want to make a bigger purchase.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody that's a young adult and had this, made this mistakes, what can you do for them? Are you able to delete some items out of it? Can you, I don't know. I'm real here. So
and these are questions that people get. So it's like, am I able to delete things?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Okay. If you ever speak to anyone who
Can
does
you
credit,
challenge them?
Exactly. That's what I do. I can't, because I'm not the credit reporting agency. I'm not the bureau, so I cannot delete anything. However, I can challenge the information that's being reported. Now, if it is not 100% accurately reported or compliant with the law, then it is up to be removed. And so that is how I get the removals off the credit report. So someone can come to me, have 10 negative accounts today. We can challenge all 10 today, get the results back in 30 days, and we usually do about 60 to 70% deletion rate in 30 days.
So 60 to 70% deletion rate based on challenging them.
Exactly.
So it's pretty often, pretty common, I should say, that they make a mistake when they report on the bureau.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Great, great stuff there. I want to go back to you. I was thinking about this. So a lot of us immigrants that come here, I became an American citizen. I've been thinking about maybe I would like to bring over my mom. She's by herself. My dad passed away. So I thought about this. I'm like, you know what? I think I want to have my mom here with me 6 months out of the year at least. Can I do that?
So currently you can. The way immigration INA is now, you can bring your parents in about 8 to 10 months' time. It requires an interview at the U.S. Embassy abroad in their home country. They enter as legal permanent residents. That's your question, right?
Sure. Does she have to speak English?
And no, she does not have to speak English. There's also the tourist visas currently. If you want to bring her as a tourist, then she can come in. Usually those appointments are about 2 weeks at the U.S. Embassy wait time. But that only allows her to stay here no more than 6 months out of a calendar year, and then she's expected to go home. Currently, however, I'm sure you've heard, or if you haven't, there is a proposal by the administration called the RAISE Act. And what the RAISE Act is proposing is cutting family-based immigration petitions. That means your ability to bring your mother, your ability to bring your siblings, brother or sister, and your ability to bring your children over the age of 21. The proposal says cutting those immigration benefits by 50%.
Oh, wow.
So you
drastic.
no longer, the proposal says you will no longer be able to bring these family members into the United States as green card holders, and instead they want to re-adjudicate those numbers to the business visas by allowing only immigrants whose primary language is English.
What?
And I purposely paused there
just
for a
talked
second.
about that.
Yes. Yes. So the new proposal in the Trump administration is saying if you do not come from a country that predominantly speaks English, such as Australia, you will not be eligible under the new policy. So what Immigration Solutions is doing for our community is we are advocating for you as well to call your local representatives, call your congressmen. Our business has written letters and are waiting for our community to continue signing those by email or in person if they're local. We will write to your congressman on your behalf and say, listen, I don't just represent myself. I represent this entire list of voters who are going to be watching you when if the bill does make it to that far, I'm going to be watching to see how you vote, because you will not have my vote nor any of the people that I represent. And that is the way to make the change. It is very real. It was a draft approximately 2 weeks ago, and it is separating families drastically. So what they were saying was, if the bill passes and you want to bring mom, you will no longer be able to bring her in as an immigrant with a green card. They will allow you to have her here as a tourist only, with you being the sponsor. That is what the draft of the bill read. It is probably ever changing now. I'm sure it's receiving resistance. I certainly hope it is receiving resistance. But that is current proposed policy, if you will.
That's going to cut down a lot. I mean, how
well,
many
he's done many changes. I mean, let's talk about prosecutorial discretion that has been in the news for the last year and a half. What happened? Well, prosecutorial discretion is something that President Obama did, exercising his authority as President of the United States, and said certain protections under the law, under my discretion, for immigrants who enter the country illegally, or for immigrants who entered with a tourist visa, a work visa, a visa waiver program perhaps, and never left the United States. Certain protections under the law where they do not get deported, provided they're not criminal aliens. Well, under the new administration, that was eliminated. So prosecutorial discretion now is no longer in existence. In addition to that, and I personally flew to Washington, D.C. in February when this was happening, and I put it on my Facebook page, there was a huge convention, and it was speaking of the new administration decision to eliminate prosecutorial discretion and giving orders to local authorities, local federal law enforcement authorities, specifically immigration, saying you will arrest, you will detain, arrest, and deport any immigrant who is not of legal status, regardless of their criminal history, regardless of all these things that we had protected under the law. So that is very real today. And so this is just a step further into the monstrous changes that he's making, if you ask me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if we start touching the point, you said that. I don't want to create a big thing here about politics and whatnot. But this is real, and I appreciate that. I mean, me being an immigrant that just became an American citizen, and so many people. And the beautiful thing about Facebook and social media is to connect. I'm sure people watching right now. We have 20, 30 people watching, people commenting. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have been in my shoes. Immigrant, they're going through the process of becoming an American citizen, or you had a problem with your credit in the past and you need to get it repaired. So the reason we do this is to really connect you. So I want to take a second for both of you guys to really, ladies and gentlemen, to actually tell us a bit about your website, phone number, way to connect with you, even your Facebook if you have a Facebook page, or I don't know if they're broadcasting with your personal Facebook. Because again, this is the way to do it. We have a powerful tool, which is Facebook, social media, and we should utilize it not just to take stupid selfies and show off we have a nice car.
Well, sometimes they're cute.
That's fine, but this is serious. I mean, you're both coming with a point here that is, real life. I went through that. I had problems. I went through immigration. I want to bring my mom. I didn't know about this. So.
Lots of stuff going on. So I will say, and I have to say thank you to Real Talk San Diego for allowing this forum of local small businesses that are not only doing this as a service, but are very much embedded in our community. I personally was named Businesswoman of the Year last year from one of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce because of the contribution that we give back. Why is that important? Because there's people that cannot afford a service. By listening to Real Talk San Diego today, by streaming it again, they hear, I think I heard something that I may be qualified under, or I need to act now. If you have a green card, act now. Apply for citizenship. Do not make any other excuses. You heard it firsthand, how those test questions are changing and are becoming much more difficult. The other thing is, I want to talk about Immigration Solutions Ultimate Guide. And so
I heard of this.
Very excited about it.
I'll show you these guys.
It's just a prop of the book.
Cool. That's a book.
Yes. So I wrote the book with the community in mind, and what it is it's a chapter. Every chapter in the book talks about an immigration benefit, whether you cannot afford a service or you can't afford a service but want to be a little better versed when you speak with your attorney, when you speak with your representative, you want to hear certain words that say, yes, that sounds correct, or that is way off from what I read.
Right.
And so warning bells, if you will. And so each chapter talks about a different immigration benefit. K-1 fiancé visa, U.S. citizens, that was my favorite service when I started. U.S. citizens who fall in love overseas, they travel to Italy, they fall in love, they want to bring their loved ones. They are entitled to bring their fiancés into the United States within 4 months and live together for 90 days before making the decision to marry him or her. And it does apply to same-sex marriages as well.
Oh, wait, 4 months from the moment they come to the States?
So I'm a U.S. citizen and I travel to a foreign country. I fall in love with the person there. Sure.
Let's call him Guido.
And Guido is now the love of my life. And I want to bring him back, but I'm not 100% sure I want to marry this person. I have assets. I have built a career. I don't know if his interests are like-minded to me. So I petition to the United States Immigration Service and say, I met Guido. I am in love with him. Here is evidence that I traveled to his country to meet him in person. Can he please enter the United States to live with me so that I can make that decision? So Guido will enter the United States in 4 months is usually the approval time. As a K-1 fiancé visa, that's a non-immigrant. If I marry Guido within 90 days, then he gets a permanent green card and gets to stay in the United States. And that is it's a very fun process. It's all in the book. It's one of the chapters.
I almost want to translate all that in Italian for you guys watching in Italy. I'm serious. Might be a little late, but it's 11 p.m. there. So you can actually come here on the K-1, right?
Yes, K-1 fiancé visa.
Fiancé visa.
If your fiancé has minor children, his or her minor children can travel with him or her as well. Active military personnel serving overseas was probably the most popular applicant for that type of service, but it is available to everyone.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yes.
So, Facebook page?
Yes, it is Immigration Solutions San Diego. Our website as well is immigrationsolutionsandiego.com.
I think somebody posted it on the previous, on the first video
Yes,
we had
Victor,
there.
if you're still watching, I saw that you had
Yes,
posted
put it again,
something.
video.
Please put it back on.
Yeah.
Very, very engaged with the community. Giving back to the community is a big commitment of ours. As president of Route 78 Rotary Club, which is a nonprofit organization to serve, it is service above self. We offer the upcoming Mariachi Festival as well. So I wanted to kind of touch on that, let them know it's coming up on March 25th at the Center for the Arts in Escondido. Buy your tickets. About 85% of the proceeds do go back to the very elementary schools your children and your neighbors' children attend. We give back with school supplies. Lots of homeless children in North County attending public schools, and so we give them free backpacks filled with supplies so that they don't have a shortcoming when they're studying. The running club, San Diego County identified a few schools as the most obese. We began a program there, a running club.
Nice.
We now give those kids medals, running shoes, that kind of thing. And this is all made possible through the purchase of your tickets.
So this is through the Rotary Club that
Yes.
you, okay, so now, didn't know this. This is new. So what about this? I'm going to be donating 10% of every single deal we're going to be closing towards your Rotary Club.
Very nice.
Nice.
Oh, thank you. That's
Awesome.
much obliged. Very excited
Of
for
course.
that. Thank
so
you
we're
for
going to
that.
exchange contact number. I'm going to put you in contact with my team, and this is going to be our thing.
Much appreciated. Thank
Okay?
you.
Really
So
cool.
we've been looking and looking and looking. We do a lot of things ourselves. We go downtown, we create pouches. But if you can do it, obviously
We do that.
our
We
time is
encompass
so
the
limited.
entire
I'm
Route
sure you
78
can,
corridor.
do the
Those are
better
all
job.
wonderful programs. We have programs for at risk youth. One for ladies, one for men. It's called Encuentros for Men. It's called Mana of North County for the young ladies. These are single parent homes, low income homes, first generation college children. We issue
That's awesome.
funds, $1,000 increments to those children, and we also issue mentor programs and counseling programs
that's
for
beautiful.
them. And then on an international level, really quick, I'll talk about Shelter Box. Shelter Box is a program where we donate. It's a tent. It costs us $1,000 to donate. When you hear things like the Katrina relief, or other
yeah.
efforts outside of the United States, this company goes in and the tent itself houses supplies for 30 days, includes food, shelter, protection, clothes, water. And so those are the ways that we give. It is $1,000 per tent.
How many people can shelter?
A family of 10, I believe. I hope I'm saying that correct. They do presentations in our groups because we are sponsors of theirs. So again, we only do one fundraiser all year. It is the Mariachi Festival, and that is where your money goes.
So guys, we're going to be putting this on our Facebook page as well about the mariachi and how to purchase the tickets, because this is amazing.
You can be a sponsor as well, and those are sponsorship opportunities.
Sounds great. Yeah, we'll definitely
Thank
look
you for
into
that.
it. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about giving back to community.
Yeah.
So she's got a great book. Now I got a question for you. And if you don't, I will love if you could do something like that. Do you have a guide or something that you can put together for our Facebook friends so they can be a little more careful? Some tips, let's put it like that. Maybe in a PDF form.
Absolutely.
So they're not going to get into the same problem I had with identity theft, that they opened up a few lines with Verizon. Like you said earlier, in regards to the web bar has to be green, or little things like that. Or if they have something on their credit report and don't have enough money to pay somebody like you for the service, what can they do as a consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have different methods. So we do have a do-it-yourself program, which is exactly what we do, but it's for a client individual who feels they're up for the challenge, that they want to do it themselves, and they have the time, they can definitely take that step. It's easily affordable. But we also do have a PDF that is just educational, because like I said, the biggest thing for my clients is I'm just not here to fix and improve their credit. It is to educate them so that they do not repeat the same mistakes, or that they make sure that the information and knowledge that they're obtaining, they pass it on to their children, so that our next generation are not being exposed to what their parents are currently going through. So definitely we have material for that. We'll gladly share. So because when it comes to credit repair and the connotation that a lot of people associate with it is that it can be brought in a negative light. And the reason being is because several years ago, there were a lot of people who did a lot of shady business and took advantage of people because they're preying on people who need it more than anything.
Absolutely.
And so they took advantage of it, take their money, and it creates this bad image in the industry. However, so as I tell people all the time, you don't need to hire me to repair your credit. Absolutely not. I'm just here to help you and make it easier. Because what I like to compare it is, it's the same thing as for men cutting your own hair or women dyeing your own hair.
But there's a lot of value to be said for that, don't you?
Yeah.
I would love to hire you to fix the problem because my time is valuable.
Exactly.
So your level of expertise tells me you're going to handle that, and well, I can do my level of expertise.
That's the thing. As a matter of fact, he's trying to cater to everyone. So it's I give you the PDF, you do it yourself at home, or if you have some money, I'll take care of it for you because our time is valuable.
Yes. So that's the main reason why I tell individuals, like, yes, you can fix your own credit, but the reason why you go to a barber is because, hey, you want it done professionally. Or like when you want to do your own hair, you can cut your own hair, but that's why you do it. Same thing with credit repair. You can do it yourself. You can challenge the accounts yourself. Something doesn't look right, by all means, you can always check your credit yourself. But if you don't have, the main reason why people hire us, one, I don't have the time, and two, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's where we step in. And so my job is to eliminate that problem for you, so that way you go about your work, you maintain your family, be with your kids' lives, and in a short month's time, your credit has improved. And
you
should
should do a class. Have you thought of it?
I am thinking about it. My biggest goal is to get in touch with high school programs, especially even parent teachers.
That would be great.
Because I want to, like, my biggest thing is, because the parents essentially are out of touch so much because they're already going through it, while my biggest thing is to prepare the youth. Because in high school, it's not being taught, and it's not being taught in college. So if I could prepare them, hey, when you turn 18 years old and go to college, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get credit cards left and right, and I don't want you to fall in that.
You need debts in order to
right.
to move forward. That's how it works.
Absolutely.
So I think we had an amazing conversation here today. I am flattered to have you both here. Thank you so much for trusting me interviewing you. I know you were a little bit nervous. It wasn't that bad, was it?
Not at all.
Actually, really cool. So I wanted to once again share your contact information, your website, the contact you, whatnot, your name and last name, and then chime in as well on Facebook. Try to respond to all the viewers out there that they put some comments.
Absolutely.
Starting from you.
So website is Immigration Solutions. That's plural with an S at the end. immigrationsolutionsandiego.com. Our telephone number is 760-510-5937. And Facebook page is Immigration Solutions San Diego. I think it has my face on there, so you can't miss it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
What about you?
So for me, so again, my name is Sean Skills. Our company is Horizon Credit, Oryzon. Horizon Credit. Our website is just that, which is horizoncredit.com. Our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, all the same. Horizon Credit. Same. We try to keep everything simple. But yes, anyone that's out there that has questions about credit, consultations are 1,000,000% free. So if you have any questions, you just want to know a bit more about your situation, something that you may have heard in the past didn't make sense, definitely give us a call. Our number is 1-888-818-0928.
Wonderful. Thank you again for watching and for interacting with us. My name is Giuseppe Corbisiero, your host here at Real Talk San Diego, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.